We'll get started here in a few minutes. Just wait a few minutes to make sure we wait for everybody and start on time. My name is Kim McPherson, founder of BuyItSmart. I am your host for this free auto credit webinar. If you have any questions, ask me as we go. There's a chat feature along the side here of your screen. You should be able to ask me any questions and I will respond. Welcome, welcome. You can see most of the whiteboard. Okay, let's get started. My name is Kim. They don't see it. They don't see the whiteboard. You don't see the whiteboard? Let's see, I have a comment that says, I don't see the whiteboard. Can you not see the whiteboard? They don't see the chat room. Oh, sorry, you don't see the chat room. Okay. No worries, I will do my best. And we will go from there. That's awesome. This is my first time doing this live on YouTube, so I'm pretty excited. My name is Kim, founder of BuyItSmart, and what we do is basically we're a concierge service. We operate just like a mortgage brokerage, except for vehicles, and what we do is we help people get their auto loans in place so that they know what they're approved for before they shop. I'll get into more details about what exactly we do here at BuyItSmart, but first, I wanted to welcome you to our free auto credit seminar, where I am going to go over 3 secrets that I think that every person who's either in the market right now currently or is looking at purchasing a vehicle in the near future. Obviously, with the way things are going right now, many people, if possible, are putting that purchase off. The reality is some people cannot put that purchase off. And what we've come to discover is that we're in a very busy time, actually, with our business, with people that quite simply have to still get to work and have, for whatever reason, have to move on an auto purchase sooner rather than later. So whether you're the type of person that needs this information and needs it now, or you're the type of person that is finding yourself, like many people, at home and having to either work from home or take some time off now is a good time to get this education. And we're really excited to bring this to you. First, before I get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and my background and why you are in good hands in terms of sharing my advice to you and when it comes to the purchase process of a vehicle, and certainly along the lines of if you have any credit issues or if you've had some bad credit in the past, or even due to the current situation, if you feel like this may be something that you may face in the future, having this information is power, is going to be good for you moving forward, whether you're purchasing now, whether you're purchasing later. Just having the information is always good to have. So thanks for joining me. Again, my name is Kim McPherson. I founded a company called BuyItSmart Auto, and we have been open in our physical location here in Sackville, Nova Scotia since June of 2019. Prior to that, I started in the automobile business in 1996. Woo. And that makes me seasoned. I'm a seasoned veteran. Yes. I've been through a lot in the automobile business. In 1996, well, there weren't very many ladies. And today, there seems to be a lot of ladies. So that's a great thing in automotive. Very proud of that. And in 1996, I started selling brand new Toyotas. It was awesome. I loved it. I'm actually a graduate from Dalhousie. I'm a theater major. And so selling vehicles was for me a way to pay back my student loan debts. And it just never went away. I never did get discovered. I don't know why. Really unfortunate. Anyways, so I started selling vehicles, and in the automobile business, I did pay back my student loan debt, which was very good. In 2001, to give you a brief history, I was waiting for an opportunity to get promoted, and it just wasn't happening. And I had run into, so I started shifting a couple of different dealerships, and I had sold a vehicle to a customer who owned a restaurant in the community. Him and his family came in. They were looking for a brand new Grand Caravan. They had a Caravan that they had paid off. This is way back in 2001. It took a few weeks to make sure that we had the right vehicle. And of course, when we negotiated the right deal. And what happened is the customer showed up on Saturday to pick up their vehicle. And my finance manager called me into the finance office and said, tell your customer to go home. They're not approved. That was in 2001, and that is a memory that will stick with me for my rest of my life. It is something that in that moment switched the trajectory. I said that right? Trajectory of my career. It was then having to look my customer, a grown man, in front of his family, in his eyes, and tell him that him and his wife and his kids had to move out of the brand new van, which they were already had moved everything into and ready to drive away, that they couldn't have the van. Yeah, probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do at that young of an age, for sure. And it didn't sit right with me. It didn't feel good. And that is when I started to investigate a different way that people who were uncertain about their credit would be able to buy differently. The traditional way of purchasing a vehicle is pretty simple, and we all know it. There's a lot of online. There's a lot of talk about how to protect yourself from the traditional way of buying a vehicle, and to certain degrees, I read some of it and I laugh, and I read some of it. I said that could be true. But for the most part, the traditional way of buying a vehicle is you go to the dealership, or you view vehicles now online, and then you go to the dealership and you meet with a sales representative, some good, some bad, some in the middle. I think that's the same way in every profession. You meet with a sales representative, you test drive the vehicle that you like. And for the most part, things can go down fairly smoothly. You get emotional about a vehicle, and you are looking at an ad that told you price, payment, probably an interest rate. And, you think that's probably where you're going to be in that vehicle. But what never is explained to the majority of people is that 40% of Canadians have credit scores of 650 or less, and most likely do not qualify for advertised rates, terms, and incentives. So inevitably, the story that I just told you about my Dodge Caravan back then was happening about 10% of the time. Today, it's happening in dealerships about 20% of the time. And if you're watching and it's happened to you, it's awful. What happens is you pick the vehicle, and the best case scenario, and this is the best case scenario, if you have shaky credit, is that you pick the vehicle, and then by the time everything's done, you're sitting with a finance manager who tells you, I'm sorry, you don't qualify for the 1.5% interest rate, and you don't qualify for the 96 months, so we got to shorten your term. higher the rate, and now your payment's gone up a significant amount of money. In order to do that, what the customer doesn't see is that the dealer has already pulled out every little bit of profit they have. So the person sitting on the other side of the table isn't happy to be there either. And it just creates a really uncomfortable situation for all parties. The salesperson doesn't like it, the finance manager doesn't like it, and our customers certainly do not like it. So in 2001, when I identified my first customer that I came across this situation with, and decided, okay, what is it that we can do as an industry so that we can cater to customers that not only have great credit, but customers that have in the middle credit and customers that have outright bad credit. What is it we can change about our industry so that we can make sure that every single customer is catered to professionally and ethically, and that ultimately a dealership can make fair amount of money, that nobody's getting rich off of one customer. And so I started to think about this way back in 2001, 2002. And then in 2004, I had worked with an event marketing company, and specifically marketing that related to addressing customers with bad credit. And then I had continued to work in that environment. And then I started to take a look at, okay, where can I make the most impact for customers? So I started to teach it. In 2005, I opened a company, and as a trainer, I would go into franchise dealerships and teach finance managers a different way of presenting how to purchase a vehicle to customers, and how they can best serve their customers by making sure they get their customers the best auto loan approval, much like a mortgage broker. That has been a very frustrating experience for me. Some good, some bad. Many dealerships took on the training and still today help customers with less than perfect credit in a very professional, ethical way. But for the most part, most dealerships are still struggling today. Many customers are, like I mentioned, the best case scenario customers. Many of them, 40% of the market has less than perfect credit. And so there's a large portion of customers that once they're done negotiating with a vehicle, end up being in a finance office, across the table from a finance manager who tells them that the deal that they made with their sales professional isn't the deal that they can have. And so what I wanted to teach you today is how you can avoid that. Another thing that's happening in dealerships today, and it may have already happened to you, is you go to the dealership, you pick the vehicle, you negotiate your price, and then the bank just outright says no. It's been my experience that most franchise dealerships are still working on how do they help their customers get their best auto loan approval. And because of that, a lot of customers are being told no when in fact they can actually get an auto loan. So I'm going to review the 3 secrets for you here today. The reason that I want to do this is, quite frankly, I believe that knowledge is power. And the more I can get this information out to the general public, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to feel comfortable, confident, and reestablish your credit using an auto loan. Take control of the vehicle purchase process and be confident and comfortable in that process, and really have the ability to negotiate your very best deal. Negotiating your very best deal has to do with the selling price, but there's a lot more to consider in terms of financing and making sure that you've secured your absolute best interest rate. If your score is 650 or higher, generally speaking, your credit is prime and you probably will qualify for the advertised rates, terms, and incentives. It's just a matter of finding out what rate goes with what vehicle. And, that's how manufacturers do it for different makes and models, different terms, and navigating through that. That's not what I'm going to discuss today. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I do want to reinforce the fact that interest rates go with banks and with like dealerships, but it's really the dealership's bank. But really, they're determined Two, by the customer and the customer's credit. So asking what interest rates dealership has when you have less than perfect credit or a score of 650 or less really doesn't matter to you. And so everything discussing money after that point is not really, it's not, well, it's not truthful. It's not truthful. So having this information will help guide and direct you. And I just wanted to give you that background information so that I can explain to you where this comes from for me and why I'm so passionate about making sure that customers have the information that they need to not only make their best, to get their best auto loan, to get approved and make sure that it's their best auto loan approval. But the really cool thing that I discovered is that you can actually rehab your credit super fast using an auto loan if you're responsible about it. A lot of dealers preach this, and not many really do it as effectively as it needs to be done, because what it requires is that you manage your vehicle expectations, just a little bit. You might want to put off the $60,000 vehicle if your rate's going to be higher, okay? Or the $20,000 vehicle if your rate's going to be super high, so that you can get loaned a smaller amount of money and show to our auto loan lenders that you can be responsible with repaying your auto loans, and then they will dump the interest rate, refinance, you trade in your vehicle and you refinance. I'm going to go over that step by step here in a second. So first of all, let me tell you, stick with me till the end here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to send you all a PDF one pager. You can use this one page instruction guide, fill it out. You can use it at any dealership. Now, there's a couple of things before we get started I want to make sure everybody keeps in mind, okay? Important tips. Important tips. This is super important, because sometimes what I find is that in the automobile business, we just haven't been straight with people. I do what I do, and I do it well, quite frankly, because I'm straight with people. You just have to tell people the truth, for God's sake, okay? Math is math. There's a selling price of a vehicle. There's a time you pay for it. There's an interest rate you qualify for. It works out to be a math equation. So if you keep that square in your brain, a lot of this is going to make real perfect sense to you. There's a couple of tips I want to mention before we get started. Important tips. Number one, if you cannot trust, okay, if you cannot trust a sales professional or a finance manager at a specific vehicle, stop, walk away. You have no responsibility to that dealership. There's no reason why you have to stay there. Everything that I read online when it comes to protect yourself against the big bad dealership, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'll tell you why. Because if you cannot trust the person that you're dealing with questions like, is there a budget I need to be respectful of? I ask my clients that all the time. Why? Because it's just a math equation, and I'm going to actually show you vehicles that match your budget. If your budget is $350 and you qualify for a 14% auto loan, or an 8% auto loan, or a 6% auto loan, or a 25% auto loan, the payment is going to be much different. So once we figure out what kind of money we're working with the bank and at what interest rate, if you've got a payment range I need to be respectful of, and tip number two, I've been pricing my vehicles, then there's no secrets. There's nothing I can do to harm you. I'm going to show you the vehicles that match your payment. Do you see what I'm saying? Does everybody get what I'm saying? So tip number one, if you can't trust the person you're talking to, walk away. You'll know that when you make that first call. Are you dealing with somebody who's listening to you? Are you dealing with somebody who's looking you in the eye? Are you dealing with somebody who's answering your questions honestly, truthfully? You guys know it. You know when you're dealing with somebody who's not quite right. And I have to say this, most people today in our industry are making a good decent living, doing the right thing by customers. So at no point in this webinar am I going to scare you off from every other dealer. We are not a dealership. We partner with many dealerships, and what we do is we act like mortgage brokers. We secure people's auto loan before they go shopping, and then we act like a concierge service. We find the vehicles, we show our customers, most of them online, we do it also in person, and then we deliver vehicles directly to people's doors. So in no way am I saying don't go to a manufacturer's dealership. Just be armed and ready when you do, if you have credit challenges. And the first thing you want to be aware of is, does the person you're talking to know how to help you? Number one, can you trust them? If you've got some credit issues, okay, you should be able to say that up front, and the answer from a sales professional who knows what they're doing will be, no problem. We help people all the time. Have a seat. Let me get you a refreshment. I'm going to introduce you to my finance manager because it sounds like you have some business to do with them first. Okay? Because if you have some credit issues and you don't know what interest rate or terms you qualify for, and monthly budget is important to you, and maybe you've got a trade-in that you owe some money, it's very difficult for any sales professional to show you a vehicle that's not going to offend you later. You're going to wonder, why did they show us a vehicle that I can't even buy? Or why did they show us a vehicle that was $600 a month when we were specific and said we don't want to spend any more than $500 on an SUV? Okay, so it's really super important that when you do business at a dealership, you do it with somebody you can trust and who is knowledgeable and who can help you. If the dealership does not immediately move you into the finance office so that you can get pre-approved if you have less than perfect credit, and if you cannot talk to a finance manager immediately, it would be my recommendation that you don't do business there if you have credit challenges. Okay, so that's tip number one. I'm going to get to the meat here in a second, but we got to go to the basics first, because some of the stuff I was reading online about how to make sure you get your best car deal was like, don't tell them anything. Well, that's like me sitting, at the dentist and them going, it's sore somewhere. It takes an awful long time for us to identify the problem and actually serve our customers if we don't know how we can help. So all of these fear-mongering things that you see online about the car business, really, truthfully, is kind of silly. So what we're going to do is first just knock down some of these fears. Number two, if the price is not easy to find, stop. Don't go there. Okay, you should be able to find the price of the vehicle online and on the lot. If it's not, now some dealers, they're rotating their vehicles so fast, sometimes it takes a while to get those stickers up on the front windshield. I will give them that, but it's a click of a mouse to make sure that it's updated on their website. So you should be able to always pick up your phone, okay, look up the dealership name and find out what is this vehicle's price. Now, if the prices are clearly marked, then you can be confident that the rest of the conversation you have around payments and rates and terms, what your payment is, you can't get messed around with. Okay, so when it says don't tell them you like the vehicle, don't tell them what kind of monthly payment you want to be at. You can if they've told you what the price is. So stop being worried about that stuff. Okay, now let's get into the nitty gritty and why we are here today. Those are the two foundational things. You can't trust them, stop. Don't pass go. And if they don't have the price clearly marked on their vehicles, stop. Don't do business there. Okay, it should be online, it should be on the vehicle. Worst case scenario, ask your sales professional, what is the price of that vehicle? And they should be able to tell you. Boom, just like that. Not like, and if you buy today and if you decide to go tomorrow, but if you wait, there shouldn't be an if, ands, or buts about the selling price. It should be that's the price. Price is that your best price? Yeah, it's my best price. Okay. If you get that kind of reaction, that's a good, fair price. Today, if a dealer is advertising their price online, it's a good, fair price. You're okay to spend that money because they have to stay in market value. The information is out there for everyone to see. So in the old days, you used to have to drive dealership to dealership to compare vehicles. You can compare them right here. Dealership that's not comparing their prices online, it's very hard to stay in business these days. So don't worry about that. Okay, the 3 secrets that I have learned teaching this since 2005 and helping clients rehab their credit using an auto loan are, first, how to gain control. So the first thing that you want to be able to do is get the control back in the shopping and purchase process. And sometimes if you have less than perfect credit, because it feels like there's so much to know that maybe you don't know around financing, that it may feel like this process is a little bit out of your hands. So I'm going to give you a download right after. You stick with me till the end. I'm going to give you a download that you can fill out and take with you as you go shopping. This information is the information that if you have it square in your head, then you will know what you are willing to do and not do. And you will help really guide your sales professional and finance person who's working on the loan for you. Okay, so the first thing you want to know is, who are your decision makers? So who is involved in helping you select the vehicle? Who's the important person in your life? Maybe you probably live with them. You share debts with this person. You make payments on other things with this person. You may have financed other things with this person. They are going to be part of the decision-making process. Now, a lot of applications come in for us at Buy It Smart where people with less than perfect credit are trying to get approved without this other significant person, without their other loved one, without the other person that they pay other debts with, without the other income earner in their household. And many times there's not really a reason for that other than they want to try it on their own. That's the number one thing I hear. It's been a career making sure that I ask uncomfortable questions sometimes. So one of the questions you should ask yourself before you go shopping is, who are the decision makers that are going to help make this decision with me? And would it be an advantage for that decision maker to also be on the application with me? And here's what I mean by this. Somebody in your household that's an income earner, okay, and is also helping pay debts, ends up that if you add that person to the auto loan, you will open more doors, most likely, because the debts of the household are now spread amongst 2 people instead of spread amongst one income earner. Now, this comes with one note that I'll make. You must make sure you're dealing with a finance professional that knows how to assess credit and determine what situation is going to be best so that you save the most amount of money moving forward. Okay? And what you're looking for is somebody who basically says, let's put all the cards out on the table. Okay? I call it the point of the process when I'm working with a client where I'm gathering all of the evidence. I'm gathering all the information so that I know how best to structure a loan so that I can secure my client the very best auto loan approval. Okay? Sometimes that is with 2 people. Sometimes, even though 2 people are in the household and 2 people are income earners, we discover that 1 person on the loan is better. Sometimes 2 people are better. But if we don't have all the information, then the finance manager or Buy It Smart agent can't properly advise and give you the best course of action in terms of making sure that you get your best auto loan approval. Today, auto loans range from prime, which could be anywhere as 4 or 5%, They're getting a little lower in some cases now, and everything's a little bit uncertain. But in non-prime, it's anywhere from 8.9 with some changes in terms of if you're looking at new vehicles, because there are some options where you can do even better rates on a new vehicle. But generally speaking, if you're non-prime or less than perfect credit at 650 or lower in terms of your score, you're looking at interest rate, the lowest probably 8.9. 8.9 in bankruptcy, by the way. Just as a little tidbit of information. Yeah, if you have any questions about that, reach out to me. So as low as 8.9 and as high as 30. So when we pull all the information together, the reason why I say make sure you decide who you're willing to use in your household. Who are the decision makers? Who are the income earners? What would be any reason why you wouldn't want to add both of you to the auto loan? And then make sure you're talking to a specialized finance manager that has some kind of history in helping people get their best auto loan approval and reestablish their credit. For me, I gather all the information first and then sit with my clients and advise the best course of direction that I think. And then they tell me what to do because they're the boss. Okay. So it's just my job to say, okay, if it was me, this is how I would lay it out, because it's the difference between 18% versus 8.9%. Or it's the difference between having a tier 2 auto loan and a prime auto loan. Or it's the difference between one of you being on the loan with one income and securing a vehicle versus being able to get you into that SUV that you guys want. We just need more income to do that. Okay. So that's step one. No, take control of the purchase process. Has to do with making sure you got all your information and being able to have the decision made on what you want to do before you talk to really anybody at the dealership. And the first thing is to get square as to whether or not all the people in your household are going to be on the loan or not. And in my world, if you're dealing with me, I would rather know everybody in the household and their credit so that I can make the best informed decision and save you the most amount of money. Here's the other thing. It doesn't matter to an agent like me at Buy It Smart. It doesn't matter how much money we save you with the banks. We negotiate on your behalf because it makes it easier for us to get you into a vehicle. The cheaper we can make it, the easier it is. And that's just how it works. That's just factual. So it doesn't cost you anything, and it makes it easier for us, because it's easier for you to say yes to less amount of money that you have to spend. So we want to do that for you. And it's really like us, just like a mortgage broker, being able to communicate with all the banks on your behalf. It's like you walking into every single bank. And for some people, there's up to 9 that they might potentially qualify for. So when I say save money by using like Buy It Smart, like a product like ours, where what we do is act just like mortgage brokers, but for vehicles, you really stand to save yourself. When I say thousands, like thousands of dollars. You'd hate to be in a 15% interest rate loan when you could have got 8.9. Okay, so the way to do that is get all your information first, ducks in a row. Who are the decision makers? And make sure that information, if you're dealing with somebody who's capable, if not, you're walking away. Okay, and if you're dealing with somebody who's capable, they're going to ask you for that information anyways. Have your decision made as a team. If you're single, you're single. If you're married or in a partnership and you guys sit down and talk together, review some of the tips that we shared here. And I'm confident that if you guys are already paying other bills together and are responsible for other debts, home, rent, mortgage, heat, lights, cell phones, everything you're paying debts for, all those debts end up being on one person in the event that that one person submits for an application for an auto loan. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Number 2, know what you want. Know what you want, at least when you're dealing with a situation where your credit score is 650 or less and it's less than perfect. just like 40% of Canadians, by the way. I keep putting that in there because people think they're all alone in this. You're not. You just need good advice and good help. Your credit score is 650 or less. What you want to make sure that you're doing is you got square in your mind. I call it the wish, want, will take. Okay? So sit down with your partner or just you. Okay? Just you is so good sometimes, you know. Get your own remote control. Yeah, make your own decisions. Okay, so it's either just you making the decision or there's somebody else, which we already discussed. You want to sit down just on a piece of paper and write down what you wish for, what you ultimately want to drive, what you want, like what you need, what is the right thing for you and your family, and what you will take. So will take would be, do I need a 2-door or 4-door? Do I have to have an automatic or manual? And is there a budget that we do not want to exceed? Write that down. Okay, then step it up. What's our budget we're willing to go to if the bank will give us the money for it, and if we were to get ourselves into an SUV because we've got 3 kids and 2 of them play hockey, and we need the extra room. We can't be in an automobile, but we've got to get out of our situation where we've got we still have a high interest rate loan we're paying on right now, and we got to trade that in. So we're willing to get into another auto loan to continue to rehab our credit, and it must be an automatic, and it must be 4 doors. It must have some truck space, and we don't want to pay any more than $400 a month. The want is what you really want. You know, if you were to pick, this is what we would really want. And what we would wish for would be this, and this is a monthly payment we would want to be at if we were able to get that. So you just want to get square in your brain before you go anywhere. It's not about telling anybody. It's about getting with your team and saying, okay, we're on the same page with this. I can't tell you how many times I'll sit across the table from a client and 2 people have 2 different ideas before they come and see me. It really, it's fine. We end up talking it out together and then come to some resolve. And it's okay if you're dealing with somebody who is going to walk through that with you. But for the most part, if you want to take full control, then you want to have those decisions made before you talk to somebody. And somebody like myself may make some suggestions, but if you've already have it in your mind, what it is that you guys want to spend and what is it that you will take, that you want, and that you wish for, then that allows you to sit across the table from someone like myself, and I can set up your credit reestablishment plan and ultimately get you into what you wish for. If I know what it is, we might be able to get you there sooner than you think, too. You might get into what you wish for the first time round. So having all those 3 things is really important because when somebody who does the job right comes back to you and says, okay, here's what the bank is saying that they need for you to be at right now. In order to stay in that payment range, you guys asked me to be respectful of, here's 2 vehicles that work. Now, the bank will give you more money in order to get into that SUV. Did you want me to move into and show you some SUVs, knowing that your budget is going to increase? Or did you want to stay at the will take vehicles and stick on to budget? Okay, do you see what I'm saying? So it just helps you guide and direct yourself and stay in control with the person that you're working with at the dealership or one of your Buy It Smart agents. What do you want? Budget, budget, budget. If you have a budget you don't want to exceed and you trust the person and they have their prices clearly marked, you're pretty good. You can, and the rest of it is just math. And anyone who has a problem showing you how they're calculating the math, you need to walk away. Okay, get out of there. It's nothing for us to turn our screens around and show our client, okay? The selling price is, your trade value is, you owe this much money. You wanted warranty and you wanted this insurance, and those are the prices of those. When you calculate that over 72 months at 10.9% interest rate, your payment is that. Do you have any questions? That is what we call full disclosure. It should happen in every dealership and every purchase. If it's not, walk away. Okay? If you don't understand or you have any questions, you should be able to ask them and get full answers. Period. End of story. If not, walk away. Walk away at any point in the process if that's not happening. Okay. That's step number 2 to get into control. This will all be in your PDF. So it's like a little worksheet. You download it. You can do it right before you go to the dealership. How much do you want to spend per month? That's key. I just reviewed that. Do you have a trade? Okay. Do you have a trade? There's this really cool feature on, where is it? Auto Trader. Okay. Appraise my trade, or what's my trade worth? Go in there. Get an idea of what your trade's worth. Today, most dealerships are following a similar guideline. Now, what's my trade worth? You also have to consider what is wrong with your trade. Let's be fair, people. Like, if your car is rough, then it's rough. So unless you want an unrealistic idea of what your vehicle is worth, you have to be honest about what your vehicle is worth. For example, if you go into Auto Trader and you say, what's my vehicle worth? And you put your vehicle information in there, and you don't disclose that there's a $4,000 car proof on, then you're not getting the right value of what your vehicle is worth. But there's all kinds of tools today, and they're right at your fingertips. So don't worry about that. What you want to know is how much is left owing on your trade. An agent like myself, that's one of the first questions I'm going to ask you. How much is left owing on your trade, so that I know if there's a difference between what's left owing, okay, and what your vehicle's worth, because that difference will need to be carried over into the next loan. That's just how it works. Or you can put the money down. You can put the money down or pay out that loan before you trade in. Other than that, which most people don't do or can't do, okay, if we being frank. So what usually happens is that amount of money has to transfer over into the next loan. If you're reestablishing your credit, oftentimes what's happening is you might have started at a 30% loan, and 8 months to a year later, you're trading in that vehicle. We're dumping your interest down. If you've done the right thing, you've made your payments on time all the time, and you've kept up with your payments on all your other loans, there's a good shot you're going to be able to trade in that vehicle and get somewhere in like the 15% range, maybe 12% range. If your income has significantly changed and you've rehabbed your credit more and more, sometimes we're moving people very close to prime, if not prime. Okay, so it's very possible that you're going to be able to trade in that vehicle and absorb a lot of what we call the negative amount into the next loan. It's something that is inevitable in the car business. Frankly, it exists. Negative equity exists for both prime and non-prime customers. And the reason for that is that vehicles depreciate, and they're not worth what usually is left owing on them when it comes time to trade them in. So if something has to happen with that negative debt, it usually rolls into the next. Most people today financing vehicles have to move their negative amounts from between their trade value and what's left owing over into the next loan. Okay, so that's key. You need to have that information so that myself, if I'm working with you or any finance manager that understands and knows what they're doing in terms of helping people get approved and rehab their credit, one of the first things I'm going to ask you on the very first call is if you know how much money is left owing on your vehicle. That allows me that when the bank comes back and says, yes, this customer can have X amount of dollars at this percentage of interest, and we don't want them to exceed a certain amount of payment per month, I'm able to find out what's your vehicle worth and what you have left owing, so that the vehicles I show you also incorporate me being able to pay off that loan and get rid of it and still maintain your monthly budget range. Okay, so that's key. Having that information and knowledge is key. Write it down, put it on your workbook page. Do you have any money left owing? If so, how much? If no, make sure you let us know. Nope, there's no money owing. That so that all of the amount of money that your vehicle's worth then goes against the selling price of the vehicle. So let's say you're getting $2,000 for your trade and the vehicle's $10,000. Then what happens is we give you $2,000 for your trade. So 10,000 less 2,000 is 8,000. 8,000 is what you pay taxes on. Very cool. So if you don't owe any money on your trade, that can be a really cool thing for you. Final thing is credit. Okay, and on the bottom of our PDF that we're going to send you will be something similar to the bottom of our application here, which basically says, where do you work? How long have you been there? How much do you make a month? Get your driver's license ready and your proof of income. So your most recent pay stub, or sometimes 3 months bank statements work, T4, T4E if you're seasonal. If you're, let's say, retired, many of our banks allow you to log in and do a secured link where they can view your deposits over 3 month or sometimes 6 month period if you're self-employed. So there's all kinds of ways that the bank is going to need to verify your income and find out if you are a candidate for them. Do they want to loan you money? So that's the credit piece. And what you need to be able to give to your finance manager that you're working with in whatever vehicle, or Buy It Smart agent like myself, is where is it that you work? Are you working full time? How many hours are you working? How much do you make an hour? What kind of income do you make gross every single month? How long have you been on that job? If it's less than 2 years, we need to know where your previous employment was prior to that. Typically, as far as qualifying for an auto loan goes, I stopped telling people what banks will and will not do. For the most part today, if you have a full-time job and if you have a full-time job, you're qualifying for some banks in terms of income. And I say make the application anyways, because now, again, you got to remember my tips, because you're making the application to several dealerships just going crazy. All you're going to do is harm your credit. So you want to seek out a person that you trust, that has a conversation with you about this, and you feel like you can trust them with your credit. If you can, then what we do here is, even if you think you probably won't qualify for an auto loan right now, we want to hear from you, because we can help get you there. We can say, look, either we're going to recommend another company that we associate with to help you get back on your feet credit-wise and really give you some advice. Or we may be able to see, based on what we're looking at, okay, all you need to do is just stay in your job another month. Or what you need to do is, get the full-time hours, or we need to figure out a way to pay off this collection. So there's probably something in the way. There's a roadblock if you've heard no before. And what you want to find out, if nobody's told you, you have to get with an agent or a finance manager that can advise you. That's really our job. So these customers that call me, it's a sin, and they say, well, they just said I couldn't do anything. They didn't say why or what I needed to do. That is somebody who shouldn't have been working on your credit, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So you want to make sure that even if you hear no, or you're uncertain if you can get an auto loan, that you have a conversation at least. If within the conversation, a good finance manager knows that they're not going to be able to get you an approval, pulling your credit can sometimes be pointless. So it's about being able to say, okay, based on what I see, here's our plan moving forward. Let's reconnect in a month after you do this or that, and help to create a plan for you. Okay. So the next thing to gain control of your vehicle purchase process is to get your credit information ready. Your driver's license, your most recent pay stub. The dealer's going to ask you for your date of birth. And in order to secure an auto loan, you will need to use your social insurance number. Again, if you don't trust giving it over, don't deal with that person. Okay. You should be able to trust that your social insurance number is good hands. We have a lot of mechanisms in play at Buy It Smart to make sure that we're protecting our customers' credit moving forward. And if that's not the case in the dealership that you're working with, then you need to not deal with them, period. End of story. So that's how you gain the control back and save thousands of dollars. You're saving thousands of dollars if you're working with a finance agent like us that operates like a mortgage broker. And if you're dealing with somebody who really knows what they're doing, they're likely even presenting themselves that way. Let me explain to you how this works. I act just about like a mortgage broker, same thing, except for we deal with vehicles. Okay, my job is to secure your money, to get you approved before we take a look at vehicles. And it's not just to get you an approval. Getting an approval for most people today is very easy. Securing the best approval takes some time and some skill. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with somebody who understands that their job is to get you your best auto loan approval. If you find that you've said to somebody at a dealership that your credit's not so good and you're out looking at vehicles, then you're not dealing with somebody who knows how to help you. Period. End of story. They're showing you vehicles that they're not certain will fit your budget or you will get approved on. And so inevitably, the next thing that happens is they're quoting payments and rates and terms that probably don't apply to you, simply wasting your time. So make sure that you're really vetting out who it is that you're working with, because those are the key pieces that will ensure that you're not wasting your time and that you're saving thousands of dollars, making sure you're getting your best approval. Okay, so that is how in first step, you make sure, secret number one, you gain control. We're going to give you the PDF. You download the PDF. It's just like a worksheet. If you choose not to do business with Buy It Smart, that's totally fine. This is meant as be general information so that you can take it to whatever dealership you choose to work with. Just be cautious that if you feel you don't trust the dealership, don't go there. You don't trust the salesperson, you don't trust the finance person you're talking with, just stop. You owe them nothing. Get the hell out of Dodge. Number two, if they don't have the prices on their website and on the lot, you cannot really talk to them, frankly, about your budget and dollars and cents, because there can be some manipulation there, which is what you're reading when you go on and say how to get your best deal and you Google it. Okay, Google it. It's total fear mongering. It's crazy. But today, most dealers know that they have to put their prices. So if the prices are there, it's simply a math equation. And the items that a good finance manager will tell you they need in order to answer your questions around payment as it reflects on a specific vehicle is, what is the selling price of the vehicle? Do you have a trade? On that trade, do I have positive equity or negative equity going in on the trade? What interest rate does my customer qualify for and what terms? So that I can take that money and basically, I call it reverse engineer it, and then show you the vehicles that match your needs, your lifestyle, your budget. That's the way that it should go if you have less than perfect credit, because me simply working out your payments and interest based on 0% when you don't qualify for 0% or 96 months just means that I'm wasting your time and giving you information that's not the truth, because it's not relevant to you. Okay. How much per month do you got to trade? And then your credit information. How do you save thousands? Making sure that the finance manager that you're working with is dealing with all banks, just like a mortgage broker, that they're able to make sure that they're asking all of these questions. If they're not asking all these questions up front and they're putting you in a vehicle, they don't know what they're doing, and you will spend more than you need to. And take control of the process. That's the download. You want to download all this information onto the PDF. And the final thing that I want to review to you is really cool. And that is quite simply, how do I rehab my credit using an auto loan? So I'm going to use the very worst case scenario. I'm going to do it really quickly. Remember, this is not something I thought of today or yesterday. This is something I've been working on since 2005. And because I've had the pleasure of working with many customers through dealerships where I've been teaching, I've been able to see firsthand how this works, and it's super, super cool. So, okay, first thing happens. I'm going to use the worst case scenario, the worst credit. So let's talk about credit first. 40% of the Canadians, 650 or less. 40% of Canadians have a credit score of 650 or less. That means if your credit score is 650 or less, You are not alone. You're not alone. And let me show you how to rehab your credit. Now, the sad thing is that probably in the near future, more people that have perfect credit are going to experience less than perfect credit just because of the situation that we're in with this crazy virus. And hopefully it gets underhand and things get fixed right away. If not, this information is going to be very powerful for you as you move forward and possibly have to look at higher interest rate loans to get back on your feet. Don't stay in a higher interest rate loan longer than you have to. Your credit score is 650 or less. You likely do not qualify for the manufacturer's advertised incentives, rates, and terms. Sometimes the incentives, but sometimes not. But rates and terms, if you have a score less than 650, it's very likely you do not qualify for their prime rates and terms. Now, don't be worried about that if you're dealing with a professional. So I walk into the dealership or I call the dealership and I say, look, be honest, my credit is not so good. I'm uncertain of what I can get approved for. Can I talk to the finance manager? And they forward you a sales professional. Stop. Don't go. They don't know what you're asking and they're not prepared to help you. If you call a dealership or you call here at Buy It Smart, first thing, yep, no problem. We help people all the time. Basically, our job, just like a mortgage broker, is to secure your financing before we start shopping for vehicles to make sure that the vehicles we show you meet your needs, lifestyle, and budget. How does that sound? Great. In order to do that, we always ask you a couple of questions. Those questions are exactly what I already gave you in the download you're going to get today. No secrets here. Full disclosure. If you find you're at a dealership and it's not full disclosure and somebody's not being truthful to you, get out. Okay. 40% of Canadians have a score of 650 or less, and they do not qualify for the manufacturer's advertised rates and terms. The lowest, so 650 or above, this would be prime. 650 or less, let's say near prime. I typed too much. My handwriting's super bad now. Okay, and then you've got bad. I'm going to use the example of bad credit to show you how effective credit reestablishment is using an auto loan. And this is a secret that a lot of dealers, it's not that they don't want to tell you because it's actually great for them. And it's really great for you. Like I call it, it's a win-win-win all around. It's great for the customer. It's great for the dealer. It's great for your finance professional. It's just great for everybody if you can use an auto loan to rehab your credit. And it keeps the banks on their toes. We don't work for the banks. We work for our clients. So what that means is that if the bank knows that there's other banks buying, I guess, pitching for your business, then when they shoot back a pre-approval, they're shooting back their best foot forward. And even when they do that, we still push them for more. Okay. But let me use the example to rehab your credit. Rehab credit if it's bad. Okay, so if your credit's bad, and let's say, oh my God, you're in a 30% loan. Yep, it happens. Okay, and yes, I've done it for people, and I've also showed them how to get to prime in under 4 years. Now, you qualify for a 30% auto loan. Your credit is really bad, and there's probably a reason for that. And if you're ready to get back on your feet and be flexible about the type of vehicle that we put you in, then this can happen fairly fast. A 30% loan in the right vehicle, not necessarily the one you might have picked for yourself. Let's say a Honda Civic with 168,000 kilometers on 2014. Okay, Honda Civics are a good example because they own their value. And let's say I sell it for $7,999. Okay, $8,999 less tax. 2014, 160,000 kilometers on. Okay, what will happen is you'll get into this loan and make your payments for 8 months. Now, here's the key. You need to make your payments on time, all the time, and never miss one, never even think about missing one. If you do that, and you keep up with all your other payments. Now, the key in this is if you're dealing with somebody who sells you the vehicle first and you're forced to do a higher payment than you can afford, this will not work. If you're dealing with a Buy It Smart agent who's going to ask you all the information we already reviewed up front on the PDF that you can download right after this webinar, this will work. Because when you tell me that you can only pay $300 a month, I'm going to put you on a vehicle that you're only going to pay $300 a month. And I'm going to make you do that for 8 months. And you probably won't be like thrilled about the vehicle. I'll be honest with you. Okay. Because you only got to live with it for 8 months. Because after 8 months, once you do that, you keep your job and keep all your other payments good. I'm going to put you in another auto loan. You're going to trade in that vehicle that you don't like so much. We're going to find you another vehicle that you like a little better, around the same payment, but your interest rate's going to drop somewhere around 14, maybe 15, maybe 16, hell, maybe 18, okay? Depends on what the banks will do at the time, but you've got them. You're working with them, and we're negotiating with them. This happens in 8 months to 1 year. How do I know? Because I've done it for the last more than 10 years. It's 2005. This is what I've been doing for clients through my clients at their dealerships, okay? And now we do it every single day at Buy It Smart, all the time, okay? We've already done it. We've already done it with one of our customers. We've only been in business 8 months, and most of our business is on repeat and referral, so that'll tell you a lot. 14%, this loan right here, we get you to stay in for 2 years. You stay in that loan for 2 years, you trade that vehicle in, likely at 9.9%, or the best here in non-prime, and sometimes you might even go prime. Prime new vehicle, okay? That's how credit reestablishment works. Now, the other thing that's a key ingredient is you can't do this with a credit card, not a $500 credit card, because even when you buy an $8,999 vehicle, what happens is that by the time you put the taxes on there, that's almost a $10,000 vehicle. And on your credit bureau, when the bank sees a high credit limit, it's called HC on your credit bureau, it'll show that you've been responsible with something that's as expensive as even a cheapest automobile, which is $10,000. And when the banks start to see that, they say, oh, they've been responsible for this $350. Yes, we'll loan them money again, no problem. And then another bank goes, oh, yeah, they've been responsible with that bank, so they'll probably most likely be responsible with us. And if we kept their payment around that same range, okay, do you see how it works? So that's the 3 things I wanted to cover with you guys today, the 3 secrets that I've learned in the last, well over a decade. I'm not revealing my age. I've been teaching this since 2005, and now Buy It Smart Auto has been operational since June of this year, and we are super stoked and excited. We have a lot of happy customers. I'm very proud to report. And basically what we do is this. We act like mortgage brokers, but for vehicles. And most of our business today is done online. So if you're sitting at home and you're wondering, what do I qualify for? Click the link below. You can do a full application, speak with myself or one of our agents. Most of them are working from home as we're respecting. I actually just came to work to do the webinar because I needed the whiteboard. But other than that, there's nobody here. We're working from home and we have all our inventory online. So we're able to do vehicle presentations to customers and deliver right to people's door. So it's the new age of vehicles. So this virus really hasn't stopped us. It's business as usual. And what it has identified for us, though, is that what customers are really in need right now of purchasing the vehicle, and what customers just want some information moving forward, so that when a lot of this goes back to normal, which it will hopefully sooner rather than later, that you'll have the information that you need to make an informed decision. Stay in control with this PDF. I'm going to give you the download. That's your key to stay in control of the vehicle shopping and then eventually purchase process. How do you save thousands? You make sure that you're dealing with a finance manager, a sales professional at a dealership that you like, trust, that prices their vehicles. And when you say, I have less than perfect credit, I'm looking to speak with the finance manager. If you don't get directly to the finance manager, stop, walk out, hang up the phone. You owe that dealership nothing, okay? If the reason though why we do things the way that we do them is because the traditional process does not work for 40% of Canadians that have credit scores of 650 or less. If that is you, then you might want to consider an alternative way of looking at vehicle shopping. And that way, we believe, is finance first. Remember, Protect yourself by making sure the dealer has presented their prices online on their vehicles, that their vehicles are priced on the lot, that when you ask questions, that those questions are answered quickly, directly, and effectively. And that will make sure that you're dealing with a professional who knows that what their job is, if you have less than perfect credit, is to make sure that they secure you your best auto loan, okay? That they've asked a variety of banks that you qualify your credit for and have heard back from those banks with a response that allows us to be confident that you have your best auto loan approval and that saves you thousands of dollars. You do not want to be stuck at a dealership where they didn't exhaust and make sure that you got your best auto loan approval in place. And when I say this, I'm saying it from experience. I could be dealing with the one customer, one credit, no changes in my application, and get anywhere from an 8.9 to an outright decline to 14% to 28%. What the bank likes and doesn't like is different for every single bank. So really having someone that knows how to read a credit bureau and assess what banks your particular individual credit is best suited to is vital to saving you thousands of dollars. That is a huge secret that not many people know about. They think negotiating price is where they're saving thousands. That's not the case. You need to make sure you're dealing with a pro in the finance office, period, end of story. If they're not on par with all of this information, then you're not dealing with somebody who knows what they're talking about there. This is going to be very unpopular for me and my colleagues. I'm going to tell you that at other dealerships. I'm not going to necessarily like it, but too bad. The information's got to get out, and people have to change their ways in the automobile business so that it caters to the customer, not what we're comfortable doing. Times are changing, that's for sure. And I'm okay with that. I'm moving with the change. So that's how you save thousands and take control of the purchase process and make sure that that you've got all of your information, all of your ducks in a row, so to speak, before you head to the dealership. Other than that, rehab your credit. That's how you rehab your credit. It can happen as soon as 4 years. I've seen it take as long as 6, if I'm being frank. It's a constant revolving trading in your vehicle, okay? And there's other things that you can do. Please reach out to us anytime. Secret number 1, you can reestablish your credit using an auto loan, and you can do it faster than pretty much anything else that's out there. And this is how you do it. Save thousands by making sure you're dealing with a professional and that the dealership has all the information, that there's no secrets, and it's full disclosure. And last but not least, take control of the process by downloading our one-page PDF and making sure you answer all the questions on that before you start the shopping process, and definitely before you buy. And if there's anything else, any other questions, you reach out to us directly anytime. I'm happy to answer. No obligation to do business with us. This is what I'm passionate about, is helping people be able to navigate the process of not just reestablishing their credit or getting approved, but making sure they secure themselves their best deal at a dealership, and knowing that the way that they need to do business to ensure that is okay to do business that way. And that's why at BuyItSmart, we'll facilitate however you want to do business. You want to walk onto the lot? Fine. You want to pick a vehicle and pay cash? Okay. You want to come in, talk finance first, and find out what you can get pre-approved for first? Sounds great. We're happy to cater to you in any way. Just remember, click the link below if you're interested in finding out what you do qualify for in terms of an auto loan. No obligation to purchase or use us. It's just a way for you to get the information. And if you find yourself in a situation right now where you are, you do need to get into a vehicle, we had a customer just yesterday, a total write-off situation. Everybody's fine. But even in all this chaos we're facing right now, has to get into an automobile loan. There's another customer that I'm dealing with today, and first responder. Our first responders out there are just kicking butt right now. And unfortunately, her vehicle just didn't start. So she needs to get into a vehicle ASAP, Kim. She says, can you put it in my driveway today? So I'm running really hard to be able to do that for our customers. There's still people out there that do need vehicles. If that's you, reach out to us immediately. We can get your approval in under 2 hours and deliver a vehicle directly to your door. No problem. We've been doing it long before this crisis existed. I've been doing delivery to the door for the last 2 years. And it's a really smooth process. Takes no time at all, no stress. You can sit there with your phone in your underpants in your living room if you want to. I won't even know. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for joining my webinar. We will put this on replay. If you weren't able to make it, I'll send it out to you. Click the link below for no obligation information and find out what it is that you can qualify for an auto loan, terms of rates, terms, amount of money, and we can go from there. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Download our PDF and make sure you take control of the process today and save yourself thousands of dollars. Thanks for tuning in. It's Kim, Buy It Smart Auto. Hopefully I've been able to help.